That's got to be the million-dollar question, I guess. Look, I mean, we can examine that question in many, many ways. We can look at the sort of technical consequences of what has happened. But I'd prefer to start somewhere else, and I'd prefer to start by asking a different question. Why did Brexit and Trump happen? Now, there as many answers to that question as there are people you ask the question of. But I would postulate, and I mean this deeply sincerely, that I think both are a symptom of a much, much larger problem in the world. The truth of the world is that today in 2016, 2017, we have 7.5 billion people on the planet. And there must be 5 billion people that don't wake up in the morning thinking that tomorrow will be better. For a host of reasons. Some it's to do with poverty, some it's to do with healthcare, some it's to do with frustration in where they are in the world, in life, family challenges, etc., etc. And that's just the truth of it, right? So something tells me that the model of life and business and of rewarding people for effort and contribution to society and life is skewed. We know that communism and socialism have failed. My fear is that capitalism is busy alienating millions of people around the world. And that's a very dangerous place to be, because capitalism is the only sort of economic philosophy, if you like, that rewards entrepreneurship, risk-taking, wealth creation, job creation, and so forth. But it's doing it in a way that's alienating billions of people. So to me, Brexit happened because of a growing frustration in a population that something was wrong. Now, when you have the EU, you have to think back, why was the EU created? Very simplistically, to promote the efficient, effective, cost-efficient movement of goods and people. Great, can't fault that. But years later, we now discover a body of people that are regulating the fact that you may not sell a banana if the curvature is more than 14 degrees. It's insane. In a world where people are hungry, why does the curve of a banana make a difference? So we've kind of, to me, lost the plot about what the original purpose of this institution was, and people's frustrations are simply growing and growing and growing, and therefore, perhaps beyond reason, we vote Brexit. Okay. Donald Trump might turn out, please that may that be the case, to be not a bad president, but the signs are really scary and deeply worrying. So why do people vote for a businessman who won't reveal his tax, who has any number of failed ventures, who has made deeply worrying and offensive remarks about various parts of society and culture and so on and so forth, and yet get voted to be the president of, at least the previously most powerful country in the world? And it's again because there's this growing resistance to the system of American politics and American business. And I think the world needs to really start paying attention to say we need to change something profoundly. We're seeing a wave towards the right sweeping across Europe. We're seeing Indonesia's new president doing crazy dictatorial things. What's coming out of America and looking at the appointments of Trump in his cabinet and so forth is deeply concerning. And I think the world needs to wake up and say, how do we build a system which rewards those that come up with the ideas, that invest and risk the capital, and that create real businesses and employ real people? But how do we not reward the CEO at 5,000 times the average wage in the business? That can't be good. One of my favorite passions is to challenge leaders and say, I want you to ban the word sustainable. It's become the buzzword in business, it's overtraded, everyone talks about it, and I think it's horrible. To me, if I want to plant a sustainable garden, I choose the ugliest plant in the world, a cactus, right? And apologies to those who love cacti. But imagine a cactus garden. I mean, it's ugly, it's spiky, it's sharp, but it's sustainable. If I said to you, plant a flourishing garden, you choose beautiful, rich, colorful plants that evoke a completely different emotion and a completely different experience. So if I said to a company, ban sustainability and embrace the notion of flourishing, how do you build a flourishing business model, a flourishing ecosystem, engage in a flourishing way with communities around you? I'm sure you'll do different things. I think if the large oil companies of the world embraced the notion of flourishing versus sustainability, they wouldn't claim sustainability, do millions of dollars of great things, but yet pump toxic waste into rivers. if you embrace the notion of flourishing, you just won't do that if you're authentic and real. So to me, the Brexit Trump phenomena is a huge wake-up call to the world of business at every level. Every single entrepreneur, every SME, every multinational corporation, every leader of anything, any organization or grouping of people in the world needs to wake up and say, the system of life and business is not adequately responding to and addressing the needs of 7.5 billion people to wake up every morning thinking that tomorrow will be better. So what is that new system? How do we reward success? How do we measure success? In 2016, we measure success using PE ratios, market capitalization, cash flow, number of employees, number of customers, net asset value, etc., etc. All quantitative measures. So we tried over the decades to change that by introducing things like balanced scorecard and triple bottom line, but yet we still do bad things. So how do we change that? How do we measure success 10 years from now? How does society celebrate a business's impact and success? How do you build a business where, as a CEO, you make really profitable, good money that pays the employees well, treats suppliers in the ecosystem really well, and yes, at the end of the year announces an enormous profit. But then society celebrates that with you. And I think we'll all accept that we have to, as a business at any level, do different things. If we announce in the local community rag that this plumbing business has made €1 million profit, how will we need to have behaved for the local community to come and celebrate that profit with us? What happens today in 2016 is the local community says, hey, I've been ripped off by this business. So what do we need to change? So that everyone says, that's great, you've earned it, it's fair, and we all benefited from it. And I think to me, that's what we have to be aware of in this new change sweeping the world. So that's at a philosophical level, if you like, almost an emotional level from my perspective. I think at a practical level, what we have to realize there's this wonderful expression called the post-truth world. And what this really means to me is that it's different, right? Politics will never ever be the same. I mean, all of the pundits were wrong. All of the analysts and all of the forecasts were fundamentally wrong. It's a new world. And I think from a business point of view, we have to realize this. The power of the future lies in the marketplace. What Brexit and America have proven to us is the power of the vote lies in the hands of the voter. Not in the big media companies, not in the marketing companies, not in existing big industries, etc., etc. It's the individual voter that can change things. So from a business point of view, understand one thing. You don't own your brand. You can't say how good your product is. The market owns that. So how do you behave? How do you engage? How do you structure? How do you create value so that the market works with you? And I think to me, that's a really, really important lesson. It's come as a shock to the world. But the system in which we operate, the context in which business operates, has profoundly changed forever.